I'm smart. Oh, and it threw me back. I'm like, well, we knew. What's your point? Where's this going? That's it. I'm smart. Yeah, we knew that. But if you're just now figuring that out, good.
But bummer.
I didn't want to dwell on. How did you not know that? You dummy.
Okay. We've actually got a couple people here with us, so I think we'll go ahead and officially start the show.
Okay.
And I liked what we were talking afterwards last week about keeping the conversation between us and not worrying about the camera. I totally agree with it.
Yeah.
In fact, I was even thinking about one of my, favorite podcasts that I'd ever watched or listened to. But it happened to be one that had a video, and that was how they did it. They ignored the camera and just concentrated on whoever they were talking to. So I think we're better off if we did that too.
Yeah.
But we can respond to these people.
Who's with us tonight?
So far, we've got Christian, we've got Heidi, and Nancy is just joining.
Hi, Christian. Nancy.
I'm putting it back. So, welcome to Where It Gets Deep with Jack and John, an unpolished and unapologetically sincere take on God and spirituality.
Yes.
Right. Emphasis on unpolished.
Unpolished. Yeah. Emphasis on that. Make that clear.
This podcast is a ministry of First Baptist Church of Abilene, Kansas. Am I right?
You are.
All right. I think, hey, I'll show you something if I can find it, and I can share screen it. You know how I was joking last week about how, after we do the, get in videos. How after we do I bet it's in downloads. After we do the introduction, then and then if when we edit it for going on out on YouTube, it'll be like, here's the introduction, and then there's like, then all of a sudden these graphics, gotcha, and lightning and thunder, because we're so unapologetically sincere. So I went and I looked up a bunch of stuff. Here, I'll let you see so you can see it. These are just clips of lightning and thunder and stuff. Let's see, here's another one.
Oh, yeah, I like that one.
Yeah. I don't know, are the people that are watching able to see what I was putting up? Because I wasn't share screening it.
Yeah, I saw it.
Okay, good.
It looks fun. It looks electric.
Yeah.
Very electric.
Who's that handsome devil?
That is Christian.
Damn.
Oh, but that reminds me that we need to pin our video. Okay, it's time to talk. So if anybody has anything they want to interject during the first part when John and I are talking, that's fine. And you can always use the chat function. We discovered that last week. That's a good way of just sending a question or an observation, and we can unpack that even before we get to the official let's all talk time. Yeah. But since this is going to be become something that on a regular basis we put out there, we don't want to just assume that everybody wants to be a public member of the show.
Right.
And so we'll stop recording for broadcast at a certain point. after we have that initial conversation.
Okay.
But you can always join that if you don't mind being a character in the podcast, or you can, of course, if you're on Zoom with us, even before we get to that stuff, you can send questions or whatever through chat. I think we should start with prayer. What do you think, John?
Yes.
All right, let's pray. Lord, I want to thank you so much for the creativity and inspiration to do this. And we ask for your blessing each time we do it on our conversation between us and our friends from church who are part of this with us, so that it may, first of all, just have meaning for us and that we can connect with each other and have a good conversation about your word and about what we've been hearing in church. And beyond that, may you bless it and have it go where you want it to go.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for this day and this time together. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
All right. So the sermon on Sunday was same old, not the same. Or same old, not.
Uh-huh.
And we were going into the further story in John's gospel about Jesus appearing to his disciples after he rose from the dead. And I brought my Bible. We could read some of that if you want, but or we could just unpack the story a little bit as we go. But you said that you already had an insight that grabbed you about it, and I wanted to just give you the opportunity to maybe we could just start with that.
We'll just roll on that.
Let's roll on that, John.
All right. And what stuck out Sunday was you said something about taking the Spirit of Jesus to work with you.
Yeah.
Just real brief, because I got more to add. Refresh what you had said about that and how it related.
So in the story, the gospel story that we read from, Jesus his disciples had gone back to Galilee, and Jesus had told them to, but here they were back in this familiar place, by the Sea of Galilee, and they're waiting, and they don't see Jesus. Where is he? When's he going to show up? We don't know how to look for him. What are we supposed to do now?
Yeah.
Because our life has changed, but all of a sudden here we are back in our old life. And the first thing that they can think of to do is go back to their old job, which Peter says, I'm going fishing. And so they say, we're going fishing too. And they go out on the lake and they start fishing, and they don't catch anything. And early in the morning, as the sun's coming up, this guy appears on the beach and talks to him. And he says, have you caught anything? And they say, no, we've had a lousy night.
This was after the resurrection.
Right. And they don't know it's Jesus.
They don't.
At first. And he does this thing that he did way back when he first met them, and first called them to be disciples, which is he tells them, go out further, put your net on the other side of the boat. And they do, and boom, there's this huge catch, so much that it's overflowing the nets, but they don't break, and so forth. And anyway, one of them says, oh, it's Jesus, it's the master. And Peter says, oh, that's right, you're right, it's Jesus. And he jumps in the water and he swims to shore. And then they have breakfast on the beach with Jesus. So the whole point was that here's the risen Christ, but he's right back there in their everyday lives.
Flesh and blood.
Right. But it's not the same, because everything's changed, because they've changed. as a result of knowing him. And he's changed. He's died. He's risen from the dead. He's glorified in this, mysterious way, but he's still there. And part of the whole point of this meeting with them is so that they can understand that just like when he was there as a human being, walking and talking and eating and working with them, he was still going to be there, walking and talking and working and playing and so forth. So that was where that whole idea came from, that like, how do we look for Jesus in our everyday
That's it.
lives?
Yes. And boom.
Yeah.
That triggered a whole bunch of thoughts for me,
Mm-hmm.
especially on a day-to-day basis. Going to work.
Yeah.
For years, I've had good jobs, but never really felt like I found my calling, what I really enjoy doing. But they've been good.
Yeah.
Good people. I should have a decent time at work, feel pretty good about myself,
Mm-hmm.
and not be afraid of people, and, especially at my age.
Yep.
But,
because everybody's got everything worked out by the time they're your age.
yeah. And so I've always, different jobs, how many jobs I've had.
Yeah.
Um,
Where, by the way, you're always loved.
yeah.
It doesn't matter where you work.
Oh, I hear that shit.
Everybody
all the time.
loves you.
Everybody loves you, John.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you so hard on yourself? And, but it's just who I am.
Yeah.
Have been up until today, us talking. I've just been that guy who I can't seem, anyways, work.
Yeah.
I can't seem to build that confidence to relax around people and feel confident. So all this, everybody likes you and everything.
Yeah.
This is really what I thought. So if I'm way off topic, it's just what popped in my head when you said it at the sermon.
There are no wrong responses.
Yeah. But, and I know that this lack of confidence and this fear, just a literal fear of people. There's certain days I go to work and I'm already thinking about those customers that I got to see that really make me feel kind of inferior,
Mm-hmm.
or I let them, whatever.
Yeah.
And, going to people's houses, and I'm already dreading it. And all I'm doing is going into somebody's house, talking to them. But you see what I mean?
Uh-huh.
This low self-esteem, this, that I have, it makes every job that I've had up until now hard,
Mm-hmm.
and not something that I look forward to because of the way being around a lot of people makes me feel.
Yeah.
And like everybody says, I'm good at it and I can get you to like me and be the model employee. I know how to be that guy, but it's not who I really am on that day.
Yeah.
I'm little tiny John who thinks, that he doesn't fit in this world, and that everybody around me is on a higher plane, and even a different one,
Yeah.
And so all these jobs I've had, I've said, I just don't like that. I'm just not happy there. But I don't think it's ever been about the job.
Yeah.
It's been about the attitude that I take with me to work and the confidence that I take with me to work. And so when you said, what your sermon made me think of that, I knew right away that's what I wanted to talk about, because that's something I think I need to work on, is keeping Jesus right here,
Mm-hmm.
the spirit, the faith.
Yeah.
and building that confidence. And I mean, I wish you could tell me something right now that I could go to work tomorrow to do it. Hi, kick in the door, pest control.
I wish I could tell myself that. And it reminds me of a funny thing. If you ever watched the old Mary Tyler Moore show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And Ted Baxter, the newscaster, who's kind of the buffoon, character of the show, egotistical, but really half the time doesn't know what's going on. But Mary is going through this really rough patch. She's been working at the same job for several years. Things are actually going pretty well in her life, but she feels like she's in a rut, and she doesn't know how to get out of it and feel better and everything. And Ted tells her, he says, what you do, every day is you eat breakfast, you go to work, you go home, you go to bed. And he says, what you need to do is wake up, eat breakfast, go to work, go home, go to bed, and all that stuff. And she says, wow, Ted, that's really profound. He says, so what you're saying is it's not what I do that's important, it's the attitude I do it with. And he says, no, what I said is wake up, go to work, and so on and so forth.
Wow.
Because he didn't even quite get the insight in his own insight.
Right. Mary got it,
but he didn't know it. And it was, you're really going, wow, that's really profound, Ted.
Yeah.
It's about your attitude.
And I know that's true.
Yeah.
I want to get up in the morning and my job just seemed easier. And I don't mean physically, I mean mentally. Right. And
like I am looking forward to
relax.
This. Yeah.
Just relax. So this the everybody likes you, John.
Yeah. That
I take to work with me it's a front.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It really, because it takes work. And what I mean by that is, when I'm pretending, is that the right word? But
sure. Well,
when I'm being something that I really don't feel like being that day, and that's every day of my life at work. I don't want to be that guy some days,
Right.
Or I want to be that guy and really
and you want to
feel
really be that guy.
Yeah, right. I really want to be that guy, and
that's rough because anything like that, where you feel like, they say fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
Where you feel like that's what you're doing, that's hard. That is going to take a lot of energy out of you.
Yeah.
For me, there was actually for a long time an element of that with ministry, because I'm not naturally extroverted. I'm naturally an introverted person.
Mm-hmm.
And so, going out visiting, and all that stuff, or even getting up in front of people, leading a meeting and all that stuff, or leading a Bible study, whatever it was, that took an element of the same kind of work that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Over time, it became a more natural part of how I function.
Why?
Of who I am. I think partly, that's a good question. I think part of that is because of practice, and caring about the people that I'm working with. But I also think that part of it was also because of learning to understand that people cared about me. That these people who at first, I saw as having kind of a control over my destiny, because I was their, I wasn't just their pastor, I was their employee, that I came to realize that there were always going to be people within that world that had my back, that cared about me and loved me, and they weren't looking to judge me or criticize me.
Yeah.
You know, that they were going to still care about me. You know,
you believe you're worth caring about.
Yeah.
You believe that you're worth something.
And
That you're.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I'm not unfamiliar with the whole self-loathing and you know, it's like it used to be. There was a long time where when I would preach, I'd be scanning the faces, you know, because as a preacher, especially if you have a kind of if you're intuitive and you respond to people and you worry about how people feel and what they think and everything, you're looking at those faces and going, what does that face mean? You know?
Oh, yeah. And doing the scan.
And you're like, that person hates me.
Oh, tough crowd today.
And Nancy would always be going, that person probably was frowning. It had nothing to do with your sermon.
Yeah.
They were worrying about something at home.
Yes.
You know, or whatever.
Yes.
And
you take it personally, though.
But yeah.
Even if it's something that nothing to do with you.
Right.
You're like, you should bring out the best in people. People should be happy to be there. Be happy to be around you.
Yeah, it's like
change everything.
What is wrong with you? You're in church. You know, I'm preaching. I'm a good preacher.
Mental note.
Yeah.
Watching you.
God, man, you and so does God.
Yeah. I don't know what your problem is. You're thinking it. Yeah. All right. Every time you scan by, you're like, well, yeah.
But you know, that recognizing Christ in everyday life, you know, relates to that, and I think there is an element of deliberateness about that.
What do you mean?
And that it's not just going to happen. You know, that our awareness of Christ and His love and acceptance isn't. You know, we're like, well, I feel lousy. I feel lousy about going to work. You know, I have a hard time being who I am and having that person that I am that I share with other people be the good the more positive version of myself. That we go, and I think that a lot of people do this with God. They go, it's not happening for me, therefore God's not real. You know, God doesn't care about me. God's not working through me because I don't feel it. You know,
I do. I think a little different. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, go.
Yeah,
challenge me there.
I don't lose my faith. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't. But I feel like, does it have to be this way?
Yeah. Well,
does it have to be this way?
I don't think it's like necessarily that a person loses their faith, but it's like, you know, that doesn't have to be this way. It's like saying, okay, God, you really don't care about changing anything, right? You don't care about helping me.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
You know, so therefore something's wrong with me, because I'm not good enough for God to take control of my life and help me feel better.
Wow.
You know, whereas when you encounter people, especially people who've been doing it for a long time, who have kind of a deep peace in their life.
Doing what?
Been doing the God thing for a long time.
Working on the relationship.
Yeah. And when you find that they have that, because not everybody who's been a Christian their whole life has that. Some people are mean and angry and bitter and judgmental and don't have much grace. And usually that means that they're still going around hating themselves because they haven't, in spite of being a Christian for years, they haven't worked on that relationship.
Yeah.
But a relationship with God, I think, is like any other relationship, which is you got to work on it. And you know, you don't immediately become a good husband.
Yeah.
You know, just because you got married. And you don't understand your wife just because you got married. And just because you live in the same house.
Yeah.
So I think God wants us to put a little something into it.
Oh.
And some of that, feeling the presence of Christ, being aware of it, is because we're trying to. You remember that story I told about Brother Lawrence in the sermon, the monk?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to read part of that, because that's worth people.
That's when I might have been snoozing a little bit. I'm not going to lie.
Thanks, John.
But I woke up and heard every day, like, huh? Write that down.
Now I feel so great.
I got to be honest, it's the only part I heard, so I had to go with it.
That's okay.
No, I'm teasing. I didn't listen to the whole thing.
That's the part you need to hear. I would say, people say, so-and-so was sleeping in church. I know he was sleeping. And I go, if what he needed was a good nap, then he got what he came for, and I'm glad. But Brother Lawrence lived in France in the 17th century and entered a monastery at the age of 55, which I love because that's about my age. I'm going to be 55 in August. He enters the monastery, and he was assigned to the kitchen, where he was, in his own words, lord of all pots and pans and things.
Yes.
There among the dirty dishes, Brother Lawrence worked and prayed both at the same time. He learned to believe that God was with him at all times, not just in great and profound moments of worship or doing exciting works for God that people will remember and praise, but at all times. The time of business, he said, does not with me differ from the time of prayer. His friends wanted to know the secret of his cheerfulness, and he reluctantly wrote down his thoughts. He called his practice, and I like that because it's the same. That's the same word that monks use for their prayers. Their time in their cell doing devotions. Whatever these formal things are. They refer to it as their practice. Yoga practitioners also. When you do your yoga, which I do, that's your practice. It's a practice. It's a thing you do over and over. But anyway, he referred to his practice, which was taking place while he was working in the kitchen, an habitual, silent, and secret conversation of the soul with God, whom I consider as always with me. And when he wrote down his thoughts, it became eventually a book called The Practice of the Presence of God, and it's one of the most famous devotional works of all time, written by this guy, this lowly monk who worked in the kitchen at the monastery in the 17th century. Practice of the Presence of God, which is like, okay, so that suggests that awareness of the presence of God isn't just a bam,
Right.
Clouds
Awakening.
Clouds part, yeah. Damascus Road, Paul falls off his horse, which my Catholic aunt will tell you there was a horse. Everybody knows. It's not in the Bible, but there was a horse and he fell off it.
Everybody knows it.
Everybody knows that.
It's not written down.
She laughs about it. She laughs. He's in all the pictures. He's always on a horse. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But the feeling the presence of God is a result of a deliberate practice of being aware of the presence of God.
Yeah. Wow. And I know that's true. I mean, I've tried things to keep myself more in tune during the day,
Yeah.
To keep the spirit near me, to keep that awareness. Like I think I told you that I set my watch to go off every hour.
Yeah.
And then I would just take a minute and just, okay, where am I at?
Yeah.
Am I in a good space? And just kind of a quick check.
Yeah.
Just a quick mental check and then go on. And it was pretty cool.
Which I think is a really cool idea. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Idea.
But I don't stay at it.
Yeah.
I never have. I go through these, especially like for a short time after I quit drinking.
Yeah.
Which is almost 3 years now.
Awesome.
I want everything and every tool I have to stay sober, and in the program, that's God.
Yeah.
You just can't do it without God. And just slowly, life would creep back in, and I would just sometimes go weeks without saying a prayer. Yeah. I would go from this, I'm motivated, the guy I want to be at work.
Yeah.
I've been that guy for short periods,
yeah.
Through my life, and that's through drinking and getting sober and the programs that I've been involved with.
Yeah.
Trying, this in and out thing. And mixed in with those were these brief times where I was that guy that I wanted to be.
Yeah.
I'm sure Heidi could attest to that. She probably has some good insight on that. But that makes me feel even worse.
Because you can't keep it up.
Yeah, I know the difference. I know what's black. I know what's white. I know what's gray, yellow. I know I'm smart.
Right.
But this little guy and this little thing inside my head creeps back in, these voices. And you're not good enough. You're not strong enough. You can't do this.
Yeah.
You're not happy at work. And so.
Don't you think, though, that that's just being human? That tendency to do a thing for a while because it's good for you,
Mm-hmm.
It's helpful, but then let it slide, and other things.
What have you, give me, what have you done?
Because that happens with me.
Tell me.
I was thinking, when I did that thing last week about pastoral longevity, one of the questions in it was, how do you quiet the frustration when it feels like you should leave?
I'm sorry. Say that again.
Oh, the question was, how do you, and that I didn't get to answer, but I wrote my answers.
Uh-huh.
How do you quiet the frustration when it feels like you should leave?
You should leave.
Yeah, when it was talking about, why do pastors stay in a church for a long time?
Oh, gotcha.
But anyway, so one of the things I wrote down was prayer, but part of that is because when my prayer life isn't constantly going awesome,
Mm-hmm.
my practice of prayer has not been constantly great over the years. And when is it that I tend to refresh my prayer life? There are two things. Sometimes I just do it because it feels like a good time to do it, and I get back on track. Where I'm doing the things that I do for prayer and devotion on a daily basis. And usually, so when that happens, it usually corresponds with things are going good, me feeling good. Or the other time it happens is when things are really stressful, really bad, I'm feeling really down,
Mm-hmm.
and I realize I need to get back having a regular daily, really, really intentional time with God,
Mm-hmm.
because that's going to help me, and it does.
Yeah.
It helps drag me out of the darkness that I'm feeling, or the fears that I have about what's happening in my life or the world.
Mm-hmm.
So in between, those times of refreshing my practice of
Mm-hmm.
prayer,
Okay.
are times when I'm not being very good at it, and I'm getting distracted by other things.
Yeah.
So in that, you're not unique. I think there's
Right.
lots of people that would.
Yeah.
That would
Well, maybe a good start tomorrow. Would be, because whatever we talk about, I want to put into action.
That's a good idea.
Because I'm getting, I'm 52.
Yeah.
It's time to.
Youngster.
It's time to. Oh, you all farts, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
You should give me some homework.
Oh, okay.
This week I'll give myself homework.
Yeah.
You're not ready.
Thanks.
You don't know enough.
I appreciate that.
But
I appreciate not having responsibility for that.
I'll set my watch to go off every hour.
Okay. That's good because that was a great practice, and so that's a good one
Yeah.
to go with.
This is great too, Jack.
Yeah.
This is a blessing. It is. It does my heart good here to sit here and be honest and open with you.
Appreciate
it really does. Like, okay, I've still got a chance. Whew, okay.
I think it would be nice to open things up to other folks at this point. I'm going to pause. I'm going to